Well, folks, you know what they say, third time's the charm, and that's why I was so interested in the ASUS PG32UCDM3. Yes, this is technically their third revision of their much beloved 32-inch 4K 240Hz OLED, the PG32UCDM. However, this one actually slightly increases the brightness, giving you now a DisplayHDR 500 True Black rather than 400 True Black, and it also upgrades the glossy coating to give you allegedly 2.5x scratch resistance, and I also found it to be easier to clean and much better ambient light handling, although we'll test that in just a bit. Now, it does also come with one DisplayPort 2.1A full bandwidth, and it also comes with two HDMI 2.1 and a 90-watt Type-C. Now, it does also still support HDR10 and Dolby Vision, and comes in at the same price of $1299 with a 3-year warranty, including limited bright and dark dot warranty as well. Now, in terms of the availability, it's going to be available, depending on your region, around the end of March. So as of the recording of this video, very soon. Now, with this monitor, as you might expect, it is going to be a slight improvement in a lot of different ways over the original PG32UCDM. And yeah, I'll tell you right up front, it's a really great monitor. I already really love the original, and this is even better. And if that's all you wanted to hear, well, I'll have affiliate links in the description below. But how much better is it really? And should you buy this if you already have an OLED monitor? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Now, if you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Connor. I go by The Display Guy. I've reviewed a ton of OLED TVs and monitors, and this one in particular was lent to me by ASUS. I do have to send it back, and that won't be changing any of my opinions. But let's start off with the gaming. Yes, this is an awesome gaming monitor. I mean, OLED is the technology for gaming simply because it is fast, and I mean really, really fast. And along with that speed, you also get the per pixel local dimming, giving you the best image quality and some of the best gaming out there. And to prove it, take a look at the latency here. I did just recently start redoing all my latency numbers to include even more information using NVIDIA's LDAT tool. And I now have both the display latency as well as the click-to-photon, which you can kind of think of as the total system latency, like you click and something happens. But in any case, you can see here that the ASUS PG32UCDM3 has both in terms of display latency and click-to-photon incredibly low latency, making this a very, very responsive monitor, even when compared to some of the best monitors I've ever reviewed. But it gets even better when you take a look at the motion performance. Once again, I have updated motion performance here at the faster 1920 pixels per second on the Blur Busters UFO ghosting test. And here you can see that at 240 frames per second, you're getting really clear motion. I mean, this is actually getting fairly close to the example image, and you can start to make out that it is saying better than 60 Hertz. Now, of course, 360, 500 Hertz QD OLEDs are better, but they're not way better. And this is way better than, say, 120 or even 60 Hertz. So I do feel like 240 Hertz is a really great sweet spot, and that's exactly where this monitor sits. And to make things even better, this monitor has a ton of features, including extremely low motion blur, or ELMB. Boy, is that hard to say sometimes, which you can actually run this thing at just 120 Hertz and get the motion clarity of 240 Hertz. That is kind of a game changer in terms of the GPU power that you're gonna need. That means you need only half the GPU power to make 240 Hertz happen. However, I wanna give you guys a caveat here. Not only does this lock out VRR, or variable refresh rate, G-Sync, etc., and HDR, it also has a pretty big latency penalty. At least when I tested it, I saw over 10 milliseconds of a latency penalty, and the screen gets much, much dimmer. So this is gonna be kind of a niche feature here. Now, you can also shrink the screen, which I know a lot of people really like. And this does have pixel perfect aspect control, allowing for both 27-inch and 24.5-inch simulated screen shrinking with working HDR and VRR, so that's awesome. It also has anti-flicker support, which is just basically a reduced VRR range. And it also has adjustable HDR and uniform brightness options. So when you include all those features along with the incredibly low latency, great picture, and really fast motion performance, in terms of a gaming monitor, this is one of the best ones out there, and I really enjoyed using it and was seriously considering buying this monitor for my main display. But I do love my 55-inch LG G5, at least for now. But what about the brightness and HDR experience? How is HDR gaming, for example? And if you're expecting something that's way brighter than previous monitors, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you're just not gonna get that. And in my opinion, this monitor, as well as every other OLED monitor, still isn't bright enough. And to prove that, take a look at the peak window brightness here at the D65 white point, and you can see the ASUS PG32UCDM3. Yes, it is a decent sort of improvement in terms of the 100% window over the original PG32UCDM, but the 10% window really hasn't improved much. And when you compare it to the 55-inch LG G5 OLED TV, well, that thing is around 5 times brighter, so we definitely need to see higher 10% window brightness out of these monitors. And you can see that this does translate into a game, Baldur's Gate 3 at the D65 white point, where yes, once again, the PG32UCDM3 is technically the brightest QD OLED that I've ever measured, but it's not by much. In fact, when compared to much older QD OLEDs, we've barely moved the needle in terms of brightness, and that is disappointing to see because once again, OLED TVs are absolutely dunking all over these monitors, and I feel like we do need to have at least double the real HDR brightness before you get a consistently impactful HDR experience. Now, don't get me wrong, please use HDR on this monitor. You're getting a wider color range as well as a higher dynamic range, meaning the image will look much better in HDR versus SDR, but it just doesn't compare to OLED TVs, and in my opinion, these monitors are just still nowhere near where I'd like them to be. But regardless, it is brighter, and that is something good to see, but that brightness only matters if the accuracy is also there. Now, out of the box, in the sRGB mode, which is what you would probably want to use for SDR content or non-HDR content, it was actually pretty dang good, although it looks like they might be targeting the less popular sRGB gamma curve, so I made some simple adjustments, and I was able to get better results here, aside from some minor issues in the very near black performance. Really excellent accuracy out of this monitor, and it looks even better when you take a look at the color checker analysis. By the way, I'll have the best settings for this in my Patreon linked in the description below, which also gets you access to the Discord if you want to ask me questions there. But in any case, the color checker analysis, even more impressive. Take a look at this average delta E of just 0.7. That is well below the value of 2 that we're looking for. So really excellent results there. And it's also pretty good in HDR as well. Now, it does have some issues, don't get me wrong. If you take a look at the gaming HDR, the cinema HDR, the console HDR, and even the True Black 500 modes, none of them are perfect, as although they are mostly pretty good, aside from the console mode under tracking pretty significantly, well, they do also have one thing in common, and unfortunately that's that they slightly lift some shadows at the very bottom of the curve. Now, despite that, the color checker analysis, this might just be some of the best I've ever seen out of any HDR monitor. Really excellent with an average delta E of 1. And the BT 2020 gamut coverage is also pretty excellent, coming in close to 78% UV, meaning you're gonna get very wide and saturated colors out of this display in HDR. How does this do in a dark room, and how does it do in a bright room? Well, in a dark room, as you might expect, QD OLED is awesome. Per pixel local dimming means infinite contrast ratio, meaning that yes, it is gonna give you some of the best picture out there on the market today in a dark room. But in a bright room, things can change. Now, to give them credit, you should be seeing results similar to this, where you're getting a pretty significant improvement to the bright room performance versus older QD OLEDs. However, it's still not perfect, and it is actually still around 4 times worse than the current 4-layer W OLEDs, and it is still even behind older MLA W OLEDs. So W OLED certainly still does much better in a bright room, although QD OLED is slowly starting to close the gap. If they can have a similar improvement one more time, I think they'll have a really excellent monitor, even in very bright rooms. But for now, it is still a bit of a weak point. Now, ASUS does also mention that it has improved scratch resistance, and I can confirm that is the case. This is much harder to scratch in my experience. I tried. And I also will tell you it's much easier to clean as well. So huge improvement all around on the coating. Now, in terms of the clarity, we're still looking at the triangular RGB subpixel arrangement, so there can be some fringing on the edges of the text, but at 4K, you're unlikely to really notice this much at all. And it's also, in terms of overall clarity, really excellent because it has a glossy coating leading to very crisp and detailed scenes, the likes of which a matte coating could never, they wouldn't dare. It's just so much more clear and vibrant and 3D looking than a matte coating. If you've never used a glossy coating, give a glossy OLED a try. It is seriously going to be one of the biggest upgrades you ever make and a huge improvement to the overall image quality. Now, in terms of the viewing angles and uniformity, it's a QD OLED, and as per usual, my unit was nearly perfect. Now, in terms of issues, didn't really have any. The menu and firmware was overall, I think, pretty great. And yes, you can run across some VRR flicker in dark scenes with inconsistent frame rates, but for the most part, I didn't really notice it. So, the PG32UCDM3, it's great. It has better ambient light handling, DisplayPort 2.1, slightly better HDR, I do mean slightly, and better scratch resistance while retaining the mostly excellent accuracy of the original. And considering the first revision won my Best QD OLED award 2 years in a row, this Gen 3 model, which improves over it in just about every way, easily earns a recommendation and a solid 9 out of 10 award from me. So if you're looking for the best QD OLED monitor, I'll be honest, this is probably going to be it this year unless someone surprises me, and I'll have affiliate links in the description below. But if you're on the first gen model, does that mean you should upgrade? Personally, if I had the first gen model, I'd wait for at least an RGB stripe arrangement and HDR True Black 600 support before upgrading to make sure I get a sizable upgrade. But for everyone else, definitely give this a look because it's a great monitor, and heck, if you got the original and you just want something that's a little better, I could also recommend this to you. Just be aware it's not going to be like a massive leap, but there you have it, the PG32UCDM3. It's an awesome monitor. Definitely take a look at it, especially considering, I forgot to mention this, but I actually think the monitor looks really great overall too, although I know some people do like to complain about the chin, as well as, yes, the stand that takes up quite a bit of room on your desk. But to give them credit, it does look great, and they do finally have a monitor where it only needs a cord to plug in and not an enormous, ridiculous brick. And make sure you get subscribed because I got a ton more reviews coming this year, including new QD OLEDs and hopefully some new W OLEDs as well that you're not going to want to miss.